Cinco de Mayo is a national celebration that commemorates Mexico's Independence Day. At least that's what you may have been told. In actuality, Cinco de Mayo is a complex celebration with a lot of history behind it. As a Chicano growing up in the hyper-commercialized United States, Cinco de Mayo was always clouded with confusion. I didn't celebrate it, but the rest of the nation did, and I never really understood why. As the years went on and I got older and older, the more and more uncomfortable I've got, watching people don sombreros and celebrate a commercialized, whitewashed Mexican culture that highlighted stereotypes more than anything else. So today I'm going to teach you the actual history behind Cinco de Mayo, and I'll share how Mexican Americans really think of it. First things first, Cinco de Mayo does not celebrate Mexico's Independence Day. In fact, Mexico's Independence Day is on September 16th. Cinco de Mayo celebrates a battle between the French and the Mexican army called the Battle of Puebla. The Battle of Puebla is traced back to a civil war in Mexico that started around 1857. A series of reform laws made by the newly elected Liberal Party in Mexico led the Conservative Party to try to overthrow the government. Both sides of the Civil War borrowed money from Spain, Great Britain, and France. When the Liberals won the war, they did not pay back any of the debt they owed. France was not happy about this, and they came to collect their debt. The Mexican army was completely outnumbered and stood no chance against the French army. But against all odds, Mexico came out on top. It was a complete underdog story. That is, until the French came back a few years later and took control of Mexico. So how did this seemingly random battle become a national celebration for Mexican culture? Well, the Chicano movement of the 1960s normalized the 5th of May as a day of remembrance for the Battle of Puebla. It was a day of national pride and resilience. But it wasn't until the 1980s where a San Antonio-based beer marketing group got an idea. The same group that distributed beers like Corona and Modelo started a Cinco de Mayo themed ad campaign that encouraged Mexican Americans already celebrating the holiday to make it a priority to drink Mexican beer. Yes, you heard me right. Beer companies used the Battle of Puebla as a backdrop to sell more beers. The ad campaign caught on and turned Cinco de Mayo into the booze-filled holiday that we know today. So now that you know the history, I'm going to give you my perspective. You might find yourself asking, is it racist to celebrate Cinco de Mayo? Well, that's kind of a can of worms, isn't it? I'd start by asking, do you celebrate anybody else's Independence Day? Or be honest, do you just dress up in culturally insensitive costumes and get blackout drunk under the guise of celebrating Mexican culture? Mexicans, one of the worst discriminated groups in the country's history, with children being kept in cages at the border, just now being reunited with their families under the Biden administration, and over 6,000 undocumented migrants being arrested every day at the Mexican border. Mexicans face discrimination at every corner in America. But look, I'm not saying that you can't eat tacos and drink tequila. Knowing what you know about the history, you can celebrate the Battle of Puebla on Cinco de Mayo if you want to, but I think there's a time and a place for celebration. If you truly care about the struggles that Mexicans face every day in this country, you put some work in to have a reason to celebrate.